Mr. Warren didn't flinch. "As I was saying," he continued, calmly flipping to the next page, "the Harrison estate, including this property, is to be allocated 60% to Thomas Harrison and 40% to the Harrison Family Trust, the terms of which are outlined in a sealed addendum." Grace blinked, her triumphant smirk faltering. What does that mean?" she asked, her voice higher than before. "It means," Eleanor said smoothly, "that the remaining 40% is not going to either of you. The trust has specific beneficiaries, none of whom include Grace or Daniel." Daniel sat forward, his cocky facade cracking. Wait a second. That's not what he would have wanted. Grace was family. She left the family, I cut in coldly. The moment she walked out and married you, Daniel. Mr. Warren didn't raise his voice, but his words cut like a knife. There is also a no-contest clause in this will. Any party who challenges the terms stands to lose any remaining legal claim. Grace's face drained of color. That's insane. He loved me. He told you what you needed to hear, I said. Not what he really felt. That's all in here. I tapped the leather-bound journal sitting in front of me. His real thoughts, his real plans, his real protections. Daniel's hands were clenched now. We'll take this to court. Eleanor raised a brow, utterly unbothered. Please do. I've got affidavits, surveillance footage, bank records, and private investigator reports. I welcome the opportunity to put it all on record. Mr. Warren gave a small sigh, clearly ready to wrap this up. If there are no further interruptions, he said pointedly, I will proceed with the rest of the will, but I advise you both to consider your next moves very, very carefully. Grace looked like she wanted to cry, or scream, or both. Daniel was already halfway out of his seat. Eleanor leaned in and whispered just loud enough for them to hear. The truth always comes to light. Narrative momentum. The scene flows smoothly from confrontation to climax, building tension effectively. Characterization. Eleanor is confident and formidable, while Grace and Daniel unravel believably. Their descent into panic is well-paced. Dialogue. The dialogue feels natural and intense, carrying the emotional weight of the confrontation. Plot payoff. The evidence reveal and courtroom battle deliver satisfying consequences, fulfilling the earlier setup. Suggestions for improvement. Formatting and clarity. Add paragraph breaks and timestamps as scene markers sparingly, or convert them into narrative time cues. The current format is difficult to read. For example, instead of 1705 allocation is contingent upon the fulfillment of specific conditions. Try. At 5:05 p.m., Warren continued. The 40% allocation is contingent upon fulfilling specific conditions, outlined in the will. Tone and word choice. Some phrases like conniving and rewrite, which seems like a typo for white, might benefit from being either toned down or clarified. Let the reader feel the manipulation rather than telling them. Pacing in dialogue. Consider tightening a few exchanges. For example, Grace's line, "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "We've done nothing wrong." Could be more layered or emotional. "This is absurd," Grace snapped. "We never did anything wrong, nothing that would justify this." Use of description. Expand briefly on the courtroom environment or character body language to further immerse the reader. Example. Grace's hands trembled beneath the table, nails digging into her designer clutch as if it could anchor her to reality. Consistency in grammar. Fix small grammatical and typographical issues. Grace's voice rose. Grace's voice rose. Daniel composure. Daniel's composure. Fraudulent financial activities. Fraudulent financial activities. Capitalization errors in fulfillment, financial, etc. should be corrected for consistency. Final thoughts. This scene could be part of a compelling legal thriller or dramatic novel. If you're planning to expand this into a chapter or longer work, consider introducing backstory earlier at GG. How Grace and Daniel are connected to the narrator. Adding a more personal, emotional moment from the narrator. How it feels to see justice play out. Giving Eleanor a more distinct voice, perhaps with her own moment of vulnerability or personal stake. Would you like me to help you polish this scene into a more final draft with the improvements above white-knuckled? Daniel clenched his jaw as murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The judge silenced the crowd with a sharp bang of his gavel. "Do you deny this is your voice, Mrs. Grace Mitchell?" Eleanor asked, her tone as cold and cutting as a blade. Grace hesitated. It's been taken out of context." Eleanor didn't flinch. "Would you like to hear more context? We have hours of recordings." The room stirred again, whispers swelling. Another sharp bang. "Order!" the judge barked. "Mrs. Mitchell, answer the question." Grace glanced at Daniel. He gave her nothing, not even a flicker of support. Her eyes drifted to her attorney, but found no lifeline there either. Finally, she slumped into her chair. "No," she muttered, "I don't deny it." The admission fell like a hammer. Eleanor stepped forward, relentless. "Your Honor, I'd also like to present evidence of financial fraud committed by the defendants. These bank statements show Mrs. Mitchell funneling money from her joint account with Mr. Harrison during their marriage into accounts under her maiden name. Mr. Daniel Mitchell was complicit." Daniel erupted. "That's a lie!" Eleanor calmly slid another document across the table. "These records disagree, Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Harrison hired private investigators. Every dollar, every meeting, you've both been caught." The judge leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Do the defendants have a response?" Grace's attorney stood, voice shaky. "Your Honor, my clients respectfully decline to comment at this time." The judge nodded grimly. "We'll proceed." Silence returned, broken only by reporters scribbling furiously and the judge flipping through documents. Grace and Daniel sat rigid, their earlier defiance gone. The walls were closing in. The prosecution called me to the stand. As I passed them, I saw it. Desperation flickering in Grace's eyes. Daniel wouldn't even look at me. "Please state your name for the court," the prosecutor said. "Thomas Harrison," I replied, my voice steady. "And your relationship to the defendants?" "Grace Mitchell is my ex-wife. Daniel Mitchell is her current husband." "During your marriage, did you observe behavior from Mrs. Mitchell suggesting financial misconduct?" I took a breath. "Yes. She often withdrew large sums of money without explanation. When I asked, she'd brush me off or claim it was for household needs." "Did these withdrawals continue after your divorce?" "They did. She accessed our joint accounts during proceedings, transferring money into private accounts under her maiden name." Grace's attorney shot up. "Objection, speculative and irrelevant." "Overruled," the judge said. "The witness may continue." "Are you aware of any actions taken by the defendants regarding your late father, Richard Harrison?" "I am. They visited him frequently during his final months, claiming concern. But they were pressuring him for details about his will, about his estate." Gasps rippled through the audience. "Did your father express suspicions about them?" "He did. He saw through their act and documented everything. Photos, financial records, even videos. He hired private investigators to protect his legacy." The prosecutor turned to the judge. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit surveillance footage provided by Mr. Harrison." The clerk played the first clip. Grace and Daniel stood in a hospital hallway, whispering. "Once the will is read, we'll contest it," Grace said. "Daniel, keep pushing him. Remind him what I've sacrificed." The second clip showed Daniel in a parking lot, handing a thick envelope to a man. "This is Mr. Mitchell bribing a nurse for confidential medical information," the prosecutor explained. Grace covered her face. Daniel stared straight ahead, jaw clenched so tight it might shatter. "Mr. Harrison," the prosecutor said, turning to me, "how has this affected you?" "Losing my father was already devastating," I said. "But watching Grace and Daniel exploit his death, it's been heartbreaking. My father built everything with integrity. I won't let them tarnish that. Thank you. No further questions." As I returned to my seat, Grace's attorney rose to begin his cross-examination, but Grace shot to her feet. "This is a sham," she shouted, her voice shaking. "Richard was a stubborn old man. This so-called evidence proves nothing. Bang! Mrs. Mitchell, sit down or I will hold you in contempt." But she kept going, finger trembling as she pointed at me. "You think—" "You've won, don't you, Thomas?" "You're nothing without your father's money. Nothing!" Chaos exploded. Reporters scrambled to take notes. The judge banged his gavel with force. "Order! Mrs. Mitchell, that's enough!" Daniel sank into his chair, head buried in his hands, wishing the earth would swallow him whole. Two officers stepped forward. Grace shoved past her attorney. "You'll regret this, Thomas!" she shrieked as they pulled her away. "This isn't over!" The judge called a recess. Eleanor turned to me, composed as ever. "That went better than I hoped," she said. "She completely lost control," I murmured, still trying to catch my breath. "The jury saw it all. The lies, the arrogance, and now, the truth." When we returned to the courtroom, Eleanor leaned in close. "There's one more thing," she whispered. "What is it?" "You'll see." The judge re-entered. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the prosecution submits one final piece of evidence, a recorded statement from Mr. Richard Harrison made shortly before his death." A hush fell over the courtroom. Then the screen lit up. There he was. My father. Thinner, older, but unmistakably him, eyes sharp, voice steady. "If you're watching this," he said, "then what I feared has come to pass. Grace and Daniel have tried to take what was never theirs." He leaned in. "Grace, you entered my son's life with lies. Daniel, you saw opportunity and tried to exploit it, but you both underestimated who you were dealing with." He paused, eyes burning through the lens. "To my son, Thomas, this legacy is now yours. You've shown strength, integrity, and heart. I'm proud of you." A final breath. "To those who take what they haven't earned, the truth always comes out. And when it does, you'll have no one to blame but yourselves." The screen went. Black stillness. Grace looked frozen. Daniel stared at the ground, vacant. The prosecutor faced the judge. "Your Honor, this clearly confirms intent to defraud. We ask the court to uphold the no contest clause in Mr. Harrison's will." Grace's attorney tried to interject, but the judge cut him off. "Enough. The evidence speaks for itself." He turned to the defendants. "Your actions were shameful. You violated trust, preyed on grief, and sought to profit from death. This court enforces the no contest clause. Grace and Daniel Mitchell are disqualified from inheriting any portion of the Harrison estate." Bang. The gavel fell. It was over. Grace let out a strangled gasp. Daniel didn't move. I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding. My father's plan had worked. Justice had prevailed. As the courtroom emptied, Eleanor and I remained behind. She reached into her bag and handed me a sealed envelope. "Your father asked me to give you this once everything was done," she said softly. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Thomas, if you're reading this, then justice has been served. But this letter isn't about them. It's about you. I want you to know how deeply I believed in you and how proud I am of the man you've become." This fight wasn't about money. It was about revealing your strength, your worth, and your ability to stand tall when it mattered most. In the drawer of my study, you'll find one final surprise. With love, Dad.